7 Real Skinwalker Encounters That Haunt You at Midnight, Never Told Before. The night was thick with dread, shadows swallowing the world whole. Around the flickering campfire, a group of friends huddled closer, eyes wide and faces pale with the stories of skinwalkers, creatures that defy realities, twisting forms into horrors beyond imagination. In the desolate stretch of the New Mexico desert, they felt a primal fear clawing at their throats as if the darkness itself was alive. Whispers of a creature that mimicked voices, echoed the calls of lost loved ones, sent shivers up their spines. What would you do if you heard your mother's voice, pleading from the shadows? Would you dare to step into the void, under the moon's haunting glow? They shared tales of those who wandered too far and never returned. A hiker, once vibrant and full of life, found himself lured by the call of his daughter's laughter, a child who had been gone for years. His heart raced as he stepped toward the sound, only to be met by an empty chill that slithered into his bones. The desert air thickened with each word, the atmosphere charged with electric suspense as their imagination spiraled, picturing the face of a demon wearing the skin of the innocent. Questions bubbled to the surface. Were these mere stories meant to scare, or was there truth lurking just beneath the surface? The more they spoke, the more they felt an unshakable presence gathering just beyond the firelight, as if something was listening. Laughter bounced off the rocks and faded into silence, replaced by the rustling of unseen things in the dark, their breathing quickening as they exchanged worried glances. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Then suddenly, a scream shattered the night. Everyone paused, hearts pounding. In the distance, a figure flitted between the trees, impossible to grasp. It moved like the wind, and just as quickly, it vanished. One friend swore she saw a face, twisted and cruel, eyes glowing with hunger. Could it be the very skinwalker rumored to roam these desolate hills? The group felt the weight of terror pressing down on them, pulses racing, the world around them closing in. It was time to leave, but could they move? What dark shadows chased them? Were they already too late? The air grew heavy and thick, a suffocating blanket of anxiety wrapping around the group like a vice. The flames danced wildly, casting erratic shadows that seemed to flicker and morph into twisted shapes. They scanned the tree-line, eyes straining against the dark, searching for any hint of movement. Each rustle now felt like a whisper from the abyss, tempting them to dare a glimpse beyond the firelight. Did you hear that? Jake's voice quivered, barely above a whisper. His breath came in short gasps, a palpable mix of fear and adrenaline. Shut up, Emma hissed, gripping her flashlight tightly. We shouldn't be here. Her eyes darted nervously, fixating on what lay beyond the oppressive darkness. A sense of urgency surged through her. They had to leave, before anyone could respond. Another piercing scream echoed across the vast desert, primal and chilling. It was closer now, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet, clawing at their senses. Each scream sounded familiar, a grotesque imitation of human pain that stabbed through the silence like a knife. What if it's someone in trouble? Sarah suggested, voice trembling but edged with courage. We can't just sit here. No! Cried Alex, his forehead glistening with sweat. That's exactly what they want. It's a trap. A sudden rustle in the bushes startled them all. Emma swung her flashlight towards the sound, beam slicing through the darkness. For a fleeting moment, she caught a glimpse of movement, something darting behind a rock, charcoal black, blending seamlessly into the landscape. Did you see that? She nearly shouted, heart racing. It's just the wind, someone murmured weakly, but doubt crept into their voices. The group stood frozen, their anxiety palpable as whispers of an old tale crawled back into the forefront of their minds. The Skinwalker capable of taking on the form of a loved one, mimicking voices and luring them into the night. What if one of them began to call for help? What if it sounded just like someone they knew? Could they resist the urge to follow? One by one, their thoughts spiraled, growing wilder as shadows danced on the edges of comprehension. What if we heard Mom's voice? Jake broke the tense silence, eyes darting. What if it calls us like that poor hiker? A thrumming pulse of fear ran through them. The thought that buried itself deep within their minds: was it already too late? "Let us go," Emma said, breaking free from their trance. She turned toward the path back to their car. "We can't just sit here and wait for it to come for us." The others hesitated, frozen as the tension tangled around them. Fear kept their feet glued to the ground. But then, the darkness around them seemed to shift, as if something invisible had taken notice of their gathering, a palpable energy that thrummed with anticipation. Then it happened. A voice broke through the darkness, echoing in a haunting, familiar lilt. "Help me, it's me, your sister, I'm out here." Every heart froze, every breath caught in their chests. It sounded so real. Emma's eyes widened in horror, mouth opening to respond, but fear paralyzed her. And then, like a nightmare made flesh, the figure emerged from the shadows, a dark silhouette with glinting eyes fixed firmly on them. A yellowish shimmering light shone from the depths of the trees, illuminating the figure just enough to make out its form human, yet not. "Run!" Alex screamed, breaking the spell. The group jolted into action, adrenaline kicking in as they fled, the sound of branches snapping behind them heralding a chase that had only just begun. As their frantic footsteps pounded the earth, they couldn't shake the feeling that something had breached the veil of safety, pulling them deeper into the terrifying unknown. The desolate desert stretched endlessly before them, and with every heartbeat, they felt the shadows closing in. What would they face in the darkness ahead? And was the creature truly behind them, or had it already blended into the guise of one of their own? The night was far from over. Secrets of the Skinwalker awaited, almost tantalizingly. Would they discover the truth before it consumed them? They ran, legs pushing against the hard earth, hearts pounding in syncopation with the wild thrum of terror screaming within. Emma led the charge, her flashlight flickering uncertainly as fear clawed up her spine, threatening to pull her down into the ground. Behind them, breaths echoed harsh, desperate, almost a mocking rhythm against the silence. As they sprinted, Emma risked a glance back. The shadowy figure had faded, but the memory of its glinting eyes burned into her mind. Could it still be there, lurking just beyond the edge of her light? "Where are we going?" Jake gasped, just a step behind her. "To the car," she responded sharply, though doubt gnawed at her. Their vehicle was parked far off, a distant safety in the dark belly of the night. And with every stride she took, a creeping dread tugged at her instincts, warning her that they were moving deeper into danger. The trees tightly hugged the path, their twisted branches bending like fingers reaching out, grasping for the warmth of the fleeing group. Another scream shattered the stillness, a voice unlike before, muffled and forgotten in the whispers of the wind. It was a haunting call that twisted its way into Emma's mind, replaying memories, laughter from summer nights, a camera clicking, and the familiar tone she craved to hear. "Don't listen!" Alex yelled, his voice rising above the noise. "It's lying! Move!" She swallowed hard, the lump clogging her throat bringing forth a flood of emotion. Had they left someone behind? Was this all a trick? But Emma couldn't afford the luxury of doubt. They had to escape. "Wait!" Sarah suddenly stumbled, gripping her side as she gasped for air, her face pinched with panic. "I can't keep," she wheezed, her resolve wavering. "Get up!" Alex urged, but his voice cracked under the weight of urgency. Emma looked ahead, the flickering light of their car barely visible through the shadows. It felt miles away, like an oasis in a desert of despair. Yet it was not just fatigue slowing them down, they were being hunted. A howl split through the air, a sound so raw and primal that it dug straight into their bones. It was almost human, yet distorted, twisted by malice that seemed to seep from the ground beneath their feet. "Run!" Emma yelled, nearly pulling Sarah back up on her feet. "Just a little farther." They stumbled onward, feet pounding in perfect harmony as adrenaline surged. But with each step, the screams multiplied, a chorus of anguish echoing through the darkness, sending waves of dread crashing over them. Each scream sounded familiar, and for a terrifying moment, Emma thought she heard her mother's voice permeate the cries. "Stop! It's coming!" Jake's voice broke through, warning them once again, but the words hardly landed before another rustle shook the bushes just in front of them. A dark form darted out, a long silhouette that moved with unnatural grace. Emma shone her light toward it, but the beam flickered, flashing dark and bright, revealing a twisted figure half-formed in the shadows. It turned, and for a split second, they made eye contact. It felt like looking into a mirror, yet nothing reflected back could be recognized. "What is that?" Sarah screamed, stumbling backward, her resolve collapsing under mounting fear. Emma barely had time to shout for everyone to keep moving before the creature melted back into the trees, but its presence lingered, pressing down on their minds like a heavy fog. Once again, doubt injected itself into their veins. Was it truly behind them, or had it slipped into their ranks? "Faster!" Alex urged, pushing forward, but no one noticed the small rustle at his side, something dark and pulsing at the edges of their group, slipping effortlessly between them. Would they reach the car before it devoured them? Or would the very person they feared most emerge from the shadows to trap them? Emma didn't know, but she could feel it. Something was coming, and one of them might not make it. With wild eyes scanning the tree-line, Emma's breath caught in her throat. Behind them, another scream ripped through the air, this one more personal, more real. It was Jake. Just as she turned to look, a knife of panic pierced her mind. Had it truly been him? Or was it already too late? The night was sinking its teeth in deeper, secrets and solutions slipping further into the dark, and there they were, standing at the precipice of a terrifying revelation. What if not everyone among them was what they seemed? The world blurred around them as they sprinted forward. Emma's heart raced, a drum echoing, the fear flooding her veins. Jake's scream rang in her ears, a chilling reminder that danger was not just behind them, it was among them. "Keep moving!" Sarah cried out, her voice teetering on the edge of hysteria. The flashlight's beam thrummed, illuminating the trees that loomed like sentinels, their gnarled branches weaving together, as if conspiring against the group. "Jake!" Alex's voice cracked with raw panic. The name hung in the air, a tether pulling them back to the horror they desperately tried to escape. Emma felt the shift, the tension that tethered them together. It was a fraying tether, ready to snap. "Let us go!" Emma shouted, grounding her resolve in anger. The light flickered, casting erratic shadows that danced wickedly against the bark. Each glitch fueled her fear, but also drove her forward. They had to reach the car. The ground beneath them was uneven, roots grasping and tangling like the hands of some unseen creature clawing to pull them down. Breathing heavily, she glanced back, praying Jake hadn't fallen behind, but her body screamed for her to look away. The darkness was oppressive, and she felt it crawling, creeping closer. Another howl shrieked through the night, reverberating through the trees and vibrating in her bones. This one was closer, and it carried with it a promise of death that ignited the air with urgency. Her stomach dropped, instincts flaring a primal warning as dread pooled in her gut. "Faster!" Emma urged, but was it enough? "Wait! I can't know. We can't stop." Emma snapped at Sarah, who faltered, clutching her side. The weight of their fears pressed down, the shadow was already at their heels, looking for the stragglers. Emma squinted into the darkness ahead, the car like a fleeting mirage against the horizon of fear. Suddenly, in the corner of her eye, she saw it again, the figure, just a heartbeat from them. The same twisted silhouette, now more defined, its body no longer just shadows but real flesh and malice. It lunged toward Sarah with impossible speed. "Sarah!" Emma screamed, heart hammering in her chest. Alex lunged forward, but the darkness swallowed the beast and Sarah. Emma's breath caught. No! No! Panic erupted within her. The moment hung heavy as Alex stumbled. Shadows swirled in a frenzy, and then silence. Where is she? Alex's voice cracked, panic twisting his features, and Emma felt reality shaking beneath her feet. She's gone. We have to know. Alex roared. We can't leave her. Emma gripped his arm. It's a trap. We have to fight another day. The words tasted bitter, like ash in her mouth. Desperation clawed at them both, a mortified realization that their fight was not just against the trees or the shape-shifting beast, it was against the growing darkness within them. How easy would it be to fracture further, to become what they feared most? The very creature that could ambush them, lying in wait, was not just behind but beside them. They slowly turned, the weight of their shared fears coiling like a serpent ready to strike. The night seethed with silence as shadows shifted, and for a chilling moment, Emma felt a breath against her neck, a whisper of cold hands that brushed her skin, freezing her in place. Emma, it came, hollow and desperate, echoing Sarah's voice. No. 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 It was a mimicry, drawing her in, promising comfort through familiarity. Don't listen. It's not her. Alex shouted, but doubt twisted in Emma's gut. Was it really Sarah? Or had she become something else? With a jolt of willpower, she pulled away, her light slicing through the darkness. The path stretched ahead, fraught with uncertainty, but there was no choice. They had to keep moving, had to reach the car before it was too late for all of them, but what would they find when they got there? Or would the darkness take them one by one until nothing but echoes remained? The air buzzed with unresolved tension, and all they could do was run and hope they weren't running toward their doom. As they drew closer to the light at the end of the tunnel, dread loomed like a thick fog. Emma's breath quickened with each step, knowing that whatever awaited them could be their salvation or their absolute end. In that moment, a shadowy form slipped between the trees again, a familiar face grinning back, eyes glistening with something unrecognizable. Emma, it sang, a sweet melody tinged with a dark malice. And when she stepped into the light, she finally understood. Not all darkness is something to fear. What truths awaited her at the end of this nightmare? And who would really emerge from the other side? The car was just ahead, its silhouette beckoning them like a glimmering oasis in a desert of despair. Emma's heart pounded against her ribs, each beat a desperate plea to push forward, to escape the lurking horrors. Wait! Alex yelled, his voice laced with anxiety. We should look for Jake. Emma spun to face him, her breath coming in sharp gasps. The urgency of their situation gripped her throat. Jake is gone. We need to focus on surviving. We can't let whatever took Sarah have us too. A flicker of doubt crossed Alex's face, but it was quickly buried under layers of fear. He cast one last shadowy glance toward the trees where Sarah had vanished before he nodded, the fight deflating from his shoulders. They bolted towards the car, every step feeling like a race against fate. Emma reached the door first, fingers fumbling as they met the cold metal of the handle. It felt heavy, burdened with the weight of what they already lost. Come on. She urged, her voice urgent and taut. The wicked shadows behind them rippled, seeming to pulse with life as the flashlight momentarily illuminated a grotesque twist of branches that resembled cursed hands. Alex was at her side now, panic twisting his features. What if it's still here? What if the thing is inside? Emma didn't answer. She wasn't sure she could. The darkness had a way of seeping into reality, reshaping perceptions, planting seeds of paranoia. Without waiting, she yanked open the car door, the hidden threat looming behind them sending terror coursing through her body, igniting every nerve ending. Get in. They stumbled into the car, breaths mingling with the stench of stale air and fear. Alex grabbed the keys from beneath the floor mat, fumbling as he tried to turn the ignition. It whirred, sputtered, and then nothing. Damn it! He slammed his hand against the steering wheel, a raw sound that echoed against the silence outside. Emma whirled to look through the windshield. The trees seemed alive now, twisting and shifting. They danced in the shadows, and with each sway, she expected the demon to break free. Turn it again. I'm trying. The air felt charged, like a thunderstorm. Emma's heartbeat drowned out all else, a symphony of dread. She glanced into the woods, half expecting the creature to emerge, but she only saw silhouettes. Once more, Alex. With trembling fingers, Alex turned the key again. This time, the engine roared to life, but Emma felt an icy chill. It was almost a malicious laugh, as if the shadowy figure had pulled strings behind the scenes. Go! She shouted. Alex slammed the car into reverse, launching them backward into the clearing. Emma watched the trees melt away in the rearview mirror, the darkness receding. Heart racing, she glanced back at Alex, who was gripping the wheel with white-knuckled fervor. There was something unspoken between them. They both felt it, the lingering dread of what lurked in the unseen. The echo of Sarah's voice still haunted the air, a ghost that wrapped around them like a thick fog. As they sped down the dirt road, another howl split the night, closer and fiercer than before, clawing at the edges of their sanity. What was that? Alex asked, fear rippling through his voice. Emma shook her head, her stomach twisting. I don't know. But we can't stop. We have to get away. As they plunged deeper into the night, every passing shadow felt like a promise of dread. The windshield wipers slapped away the moisture collecting on the glass, but the terror pooled in her stomach, refusing to disperse. Suddenly, a flicker brightened the rearview mirror. What the hell? Emma exclaimed. A pair of glinting eyes appeared, reflecting the car's headlights, hungrily tracking their movements. The figure stood there dark and ominous. She could feel it. It was waiting for the right moment. Faster! She urged, panic spiraling. But just as her words left her lips, the car sputtered again, the engine hesitating like it was caught in the throes of death. Come on! Alex yelled, mashed the gas pedal down harder, and they edged forward, the shadow shadowing them, the eyes never leaving what was pursuing them. Emma's heart was pounding against her chest. They had escaped that night, but for how long? Keep your eyes on the road, she screamed as the headlights illuminated a figure emerging from the brush, a flash of white teeth, the distinct outline of a smile twisted in madness. What awaited them in the deeper darkness? Would the shadows consume them as well, or had they already lost themselves in its embrace? Alex pressed down harder on the accelerator, desperation fueling his movements. The engine roared, a primal sound against the night's oppressive silence. Just keep going. Emma shouted, her voice a fierce blade slicing through the tension, but out of nowhere, the road ahead buckled and twisted. It wasn't the worn path they had driven down moments before. It felt like a living thing, reshaping itself, confounding their every instinct. Panic clawed at her throat as the headlights flickered, casting wavering beams of light that barely pierced the heavy darkness. The figure in the rearview mirror lunged forward, darting between trees like a shadow with purpose, eyes glowing. Emma felt an icy grip around her heart as she turned to Alex. What is that? It's not just behind us anymore. I don't know. His voice cracked under the pressure, and sweat dripped down his forehead. It's like it's everywhere. They careened around a bend, the car swerving precariously. Emma grabbed the handle of the door, heart racing, instinct screaming for her to jump out. But there was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Just focus on driving. She barked, forcing herself to breathe. We can't lose it. We have to find a way out of here. The night sky churned above them, a swirling void, and Emma felt the weight of darkness pressing in on all sides. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of movement in the woods. They were not alone. More figures darted between the trees, a parade of sinister shapes, their eyes reflecting predation. "Are there more of them?" Alex asked, his voice a whisper, laced with terror. Emma squinted through the windshield, adrenaline surging as she saw flashes of pale skin and dark limbs twisted, unnatural silhouettes. "It's a pack," she gasped, realizing that the presence behind them had company now. The car jolted as Alex hit a bump in the road, momentarily drawing her gaze from the nightmarish scene outside. As he tightened his grip on the steering wheel, something in Emma's gut twisted ominously. She thought of Jake, of Sarah. Were they part of this twisted, unholy throng? "Keep your foot down," she yelled, pushing her fear aside to shout against the rising howls. Suddenly, a woman's scream shattered the air, an unbearable sound that sent a shockwave through Emma's core, paralyzing her momentarily. Was that someone else? "It can't be," it's Alex's voice cracked again. Before he could finish, the headlights flickered again. Emma flinched, and for a heartbeat, hope ignited. A break in the trees, was that a way out? A glimmer of light pierced the darkness beyond, promising safety, maybe a way back to reality. "Over there!" she shouted, pointing ahead. "Hold on." Alex veered toward the light, but the shadow behind them lunged harder. The car's tires skidded as they hit the turn too sharply, and Emma's world twisted with it. With one violent jolt, the car lurched to the side, barely missing a tree. Emma's heart leaped into her throat as she glimpsed the figure. Instead of fading, it swirled closer, eyes now wide and unblinking. "Emma!" Alex's voice echoed with frenzied urgency. "It's right there." But instead of charging at them, the figure hung back, shifting in the shadows, and an unnatural stillness enveloped the moment. Emma felt the air grow thick as the darkness pooled around them, a waiting breath, a sinister calm before the storm. "Why isn't it attacking?" Emma wondered aloud, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. Alex's fingers trembled against the wheel, uncertainty radiating from him. Emma's throat tightened. "What does it want?" Before Alex could answer, a chorus of growls resonated from the trees. The figures they had caught glimpses of before emerged fully, circling their vehicle, eyes glimmering with hunger. Emma opened her mouth to scream, but nothing escaped her lips. The headlights illuminated a wide, toothy grin, a grotesque mockery of a smile. Then, in a sudden flash of understanding, she comprehended the true horror of their situation. They were no longer just being pursued. They were surrounded, trapped in a dark dance of predators, and the shadows had claimed their prey. "Hold on to something!" Alex yelled, but deep down, they both knew. As he slammed on the brakes, jerking the car to a halt, the creatures leapt forward. The last image Emma had was of glinting teeth, impossibly close, and then darkness enveloped everything. What would it take to survive this cruel encounter? Would they find a way to escape, or had they already signed their fate with the shadows? The darkness felt alive, pressing against them like a weight. Emma blinked, trying to adjust her vision, and found herself in a void, suspended in panic. She could hear the scratching of claws against metal, a desperate reminder of their reality. "Alex!" she shouted, desperate for confirmation that he was still with her. "I'm here," he gasped, his voice strained as he wrestled with the steering wheel. But there was no movement. The car was no longer on the road. The familiar rumble of the engine had faded into a menacing silence, replaced by a chorus of guttural growls that pulsed around them. "She's not breathing." A new voice, sharp and jagged. Emma's heart raced as she swung her head around. The figures had surrounded the car completely, their silhouettes hunched and grotesque, melding with the shadows. She couldn't tell where one ended and the next began. The air thickened with an intoxicating fear that threatened to suffocate her. "Get out!" Alex's voice cut through the haze. "We have to run." Emma's hands trembled as she fumbled for the door handle, her mind screaming against the instinct to flee. "But what if they catch us?" With a violent crash, the passenger window shattered, shards spraying the interior, and a creature launched inside, its snarling maw aiming straight for her neck. "Emma! No!" Alex's scream echoed, like a sickening bell tolling. Instincts kicked in. She rolled to the side as it lunged, just managing to evade the jagged teeth. The creature tumbled through the opening, landing with a thud against the seats. "Start the car! Start the car!" Emma shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Alex struggled, his shaking fingers dancing over the ignition. The vehicle shuddered, the lights flickering with an almost afraid pulse. Then, darkness swept over them again. A throaty growl reverberated through the cabin, and Emma could sense the weight of the creature, shrouded in shadows, moving in on them. Her breath lodged in her throat. It didn't smell like wet earth or forest, no, it smelled like death, a rotted sweetness. "Do you have anything?" Alex gasped, searching the glove compartment. His hands came up empty, and Emma felt despair wrapping around her like a noose. "We can't let it touch us." Then she froze. The pale faces, how they had almost looked human. "In the back. The emergency kit." Alex nodded, a flicker of determination igniting in his eyes. "On the count of 3, Emma urged. 1, 2 now." As Alex swung open the back door, Emma saw the creature springing from the front seat, its gnashing teeth gleaming in the moonlight. They both tumbled out of the vehicle, chaos erupting around them. Emma reached for the kit, fumbling with the straps. There had to be something aflare. A knife? The creature was relentless, crashing after them, darkness spilling from its limbs, urging it to devour them whole. Emma's fingers finally found a small flashlight, and with shaking hands, she flipped it on. The beam shot across the creature, illuminating its grotesque face. Agony surged through Emma's chest. It was nothing she could have imagined. Its eyes, a neon green, burned into her soul, and she felt as if her mind were unraveling under its gaze. "Look away!" she shouted, and Alex turned, shaking his head fiercely. But it was too late. They were bound by the horror, tethered to the chaos. Everything spun faster, until darkness crackled into existence around them once more. The shadows began to morph, to swallow their sanity whole. Every crack of twigs and snap of branches felt like the end, a prelude to inevitable doom. "Run!" Alex's command tore through the heavy air as they surged into the thicket of trees, thick with limbs that scraped and clawed at them as they stumbled forward. What choice did they have? They needed to survive. But something was out there, a relentless whisper in the wind, reminding them they were never alone. As they pushed through the grasping branches, Emma dared to look back, her heart pounding louder than her own thoughts. The darkness shifted again, warping like smoke, and she swore she saw the shapes of faces. In it, faces from their past, faces she had thought were safe. Was this the end? Would they become part of the forest too? Another fierce growl echoed through the night, cutting through her thoughts. "Emma!" And with that call, clarity surged like ice water in her veins. She had to turn back, to face the nightmare. But as she took one last glance, the shadows gaped wide, as if inviting her into their depths. Would she dare plunge into the unknown? Or would they be swallowed whole, forever lost in the encroaching dark? The branches scratched at Emma's arms like angry fingers as they dashed further into the thick woods. Shadows flickered in the corner of her vision, a parade of horrors lurking just beyond the path. Each frantic step hammered the urgency into her chest, a drumbeat of fear pounding in time with her heart. "Keep moving!" Alex yelled, his voice strained. "We can't stop." But stop she did. Emma felt her heel catch on a gnarled root, sending her sprawling into the damp earth. The cold seeped through her clothing, and her lungs burned with the bitter air. Panic clawed at her throat as she scrambled back to her feet, scanning the darkness. Behind them, the growl, the unmistakable sound of the creature, punctured the night, resonating with a bone-chilling clarity. It was closer now. "Alex! I'm right here!" he called, but she couldn't see him. For a moment, she stood frozen, swallowed by the shadows, listening to the rush of wind that carried an echoing whisper through the trees. It felt like the forest itself had a heartbeat heavy and deliberate, as though something ancient was watching, waiting for its prey. "Emma! Over here!" His voice broke through the fog of fear, vivid, insistent. Emma rushed toward the direction of the sound, branches tearing at her like desperate hands. As she burst through a thicket, the silhouette of Alex came into focus, just beyond a small clearing lit only by the ghostly light of the moon filtering through the tree canopy. But standing next to him was a figure, bizarrely contorted, hunched and cloaked in darkness. Emma skidded to a halt, eyes widening as a chill shot through her. The air crackled with tension. "Stay back!" Alex shouted, pulling a makeshift barricade of brambles between them and the figure. "Emma!" the figure rasped, a voice that sent shivers down her spine. It sounded so familiar yet twisted, drenched in the malice of the shadows. "Who?" But the word was ripped from her throat as realization flooded her senses. It was her mother, or at least someone who looked like her. The eyes burned, the same warm hazel she had known, but now swirling with something darker. "No!" Emma screamed, horror surging through her. "That's not her." But the twisted features softened momentarily, a smeared mask of anguish and longing. "Come back to me, Emma," the thing whispered, and Emma felt her heart shatter at the sound. "Don't listen to it," Alex barked, pushing her back. "It's a trick." But Emma was caught in a web spun from memories and despair. She felt the world slipping away, her resolve weakening. Then came the growl again, deep and resonant, shaking the ground beneath them. "Run!" Alex pulled her away, their feet pounding against the earth as they raced to escape the mesmerizing figure that seemed to beckon her with every cry. The woods morphed around them, the weight of the shadows shifting like a living thing. Emma could hear whispers now, overlapping voices that grew louder, weaving a tapestry of fear, doubt, and memories long buried. "Emma, they're coming!" Alex's desperation cut through her spiraling thoughts. What was chasing them? Was it just the creature, or something else altogether? Something that could take the form of every fear and person they had ever lost? Each echoing footstep seemed to form around them, closing in. "Left! Head left!" Emma shouted, the adrenaline shooting through her veins again. But the trees melded together, their path shifting beneath them, drawing them deeper into the unseen. As they swerved into another thicket, Emma glimpsed a flicker of light in the distance, a glimmer of hope, or perhaps another trick of the darkness. "Look!" She pointed, her voice trembling with fear and hope. But Alex hesitated, and Emma realized they were at a crossroad, the shadows thickening around them. Between the flickering light and the undeniable growl closing in, an unsettling choice loomed over them. Would they dare move toward the light? Or would they be lost to the darkness, forever tormented by the faces of their past? With a final push, Emma grasped Alex's hand, determined. "We have to go. Now." Together they plunged forward, hearts racing, but the suffocating darkness wrapped tightly around them, wrapping them in uncertainty. Would the light reveal salvation or trap them in a deeper nightmare? Emma and Alex surged forward, the flickering light drawing them in like moths to flame. As they moved, shadows writhed and twisted. Each step felt like a desperate leap toward the unknown. The growl grew louder, a guttural reminder that whatever chased them was no longer content to merely watch. "Are you sure about this?" Alex shouted over his shoulder, his voice breathless, haunted. Emma's throat was dry, a lump forming as darkness swirled around them. "If we don't try, we'll never know." Panic fueled her resolve, but doubt clawed at her mind. What if the light was just another trick? The stuttering glow pulsed ahead, illuminating the trees in an eerie silver hue. It seemed alive, dancing as if beckoning them closer. "We can't let it catch us," Emma urged. "Focus." They ran faster, pushing through bushes and branches that clawed at their clothes and skin, both determined not to look back. The haunting growl echoed around them, twisting through the trees, testing their sanity. Emma felt the pull of the figure's voice lingering in her mind, its plea wrapped in maternal warmth. Those words threatened to undo her, to turn her feet toward the shadows. "Keep going," Alex called, his grip tightening around her hand. The ground turned uneven beneath them, streaming roots and stones challenging their every step. The light flickered, dimming as they approached, just when hope surged within Emma. Is it getting dimmer?" she gasped, the brutish growl ripped through the night, closer now, vibrating underfoot. It was not just a fear, it felt like a primal instinct, an urge to survive that reverberated in every fiber of her being. They burst into an opening, as wide as the sky, and halted, breathless. The moon poured down like silver wine, revealing a small cabin that stood alone in the clearing. Its wooden frame was weather-beaten but homely, windows dimly glowing with soft light, but they had no time to ponder if it was a sanctuary or a trap. "Maybe we can barricade ourselves in," Emma suggested, eyeing the door that hung slightly ajar, inviting yet ominous. "Or we could be walking into a bigger trap," Alex replied, glancing back toward the infinite shadows edge of the woods. Emma's heart pounded. The growl vibrated through her bones, threatening to explode from her chest. "We can't just stand here. What if it's waiting for us?" Their indecision hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Emma could sense dark tendrils wrapping around their thoughts, layers of doubt spinning into a web they might never escape. Was the creature simply a predator of flesh, or did it feed off despair, pitting them against each other as fears? The growl morphed into something distorted, a cacophony of tortured echoes reverberating in the stillness. Just at that moment, something large rushed through the trees, snapping branches and thudding heavily against the ground. The bold rumble sent adrenaline spiking through Emma's veins, sharpening her instincts. "We're not safe here," Emma yelled, pulling Alex toward the cabin. "Let us just get inside." As they ran, the shadows continued to stretch and twist, the growl advancing with relentless urgency. What stood between them and safety? What lay in wait behind that door was a question that hung like a knife above their heads. "On three, we go in," Alex whispered, their bodies trembled as they aligned themselves at the threshold. 1, 2, 3. Emma shouted, slamming the door behind them just as the unmistakable breath of fire and fury crashed against it. Inside, the air grew thick and musty, the faint light revealing a room cluttered with antiques and dust. Emma didn't have a chance to breathe, her instincts screamed danger. "What is this place?" she wondered out loud, scanning the shadows forming in the corners. Suddenly, an icy laugh startled them. A figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked in leather and peeling shadows. "Welcome home," it hissed, eyes glinting with malicious pleasure. Just as its voice hardened, Alex's grip on her tightened. The door shuddered from the impact behind it, splintering slightly, echoing into the cabin's silence. Emma felt the walls closing in, the weight of her uncertainty choking her breath. What happened to them would depend on whether they could face the darkness ahead or be devoured by it. Alex's voice lowered to a whisper, fear leaching into his tone. "What have we walked into?" As the creature took a step closer, shadows creeping around its feet, Emma could feel fate teetering on the edge. Would she have the strength to confront her deepest fears, or would the darkness consume them both? Emma stood frozen, staring into the abyss of shadows that filled the small cabin. The figure before them, their worst nightmare manifested, loomed with a terrible malice, eyes glinting like daggers in the dark. "Home," it whispered, a mockery tinged with the memories of another life. "Run!" Alex shouted, pulling Emma into a sprint down a narrow hallway, adrenaline driving them forward. They needed to escape the suffocating presence of that creature, the air thick with despair. Every manifestation of their past stuck to their skin, tempting them to give in, to surrender. But Emma had made up her mind. They would survive. They would escape. As they fled deeper into the cabin, the growls outside grew softer, swallowed whole by the ancient wood and history that surrounded them. There were whispers here, echoes of people long gone, and the weight of memories wrapped around Emma's throat like a noose. "What do we do now?" Alex grunted, glancing over his shoulder as they burst into a small room cluttered with remnants of lives forgotten. Old photographs lined the walls, faces frozen in time that wore expressions of fear and regret. "Find a way out," Emma cried, desperation overtaking her as she moved to a window. It was shut tight, scratched and sealed with age. "We can't stay here. We can't let it find us." In that moment, the creature bellowed outside, screeching, splintering the thin veil of hope they held. It was close, watching, waiting for them to falter. Emma felt the pulse of terror in her veins. They had to act fast, and every second counted. "A trap," she muttered, scanning the room. The floor creaked beneath them, a rhythmic heartbeat of the cabin itself, almost as if it was aware of their predicament. "It's trying to get us to stay still." Alex took a moment to catch his breath. "So what's the plan?" "We can't just break a window and jump, we don't know what's out there." "Maybe we can barricade ourselves," and she began but froze as the walls trembled, a warning echoing their inner turmoil. "No. We have to keep moving." The growl came again, a deep rumble vibrating through the wooden beams overhead. They were trapped, and the creature was cornering them. "Look!" Emma pointed toward a doorway at the end of the small room, partially obscured by shadow, but it seemed to lead somewhere deeper into the cabin. "There!" Without another word, they dashed toward it, hands trembling against the door handle. It creaked open, revealing a dark staircase spiraling down into an uncertain abyss. The air was colder there, thick with secrets buried deep in time. "Are we really going down there?" Alex questioned, uncertainty widening his eyes. "It's better than being out in the open," Emma urged, her heart thrumming against her ribcage. "We have to take the risk." With a hesitant nod, they descended, the darkness closing in around them like a thick fog. Each step felt heavier, echoing the weight of their memories. The growls faded above, but the uncertainty thickened below, wrapping around them in icy tendrils. At the bottom, they found themselves in a cavernous space, illuminated by an eerie glow that pulsed in rhythmic waves. The walls shimmered as if alive, information infused in every surface, a warning perhaps. "What is this place?" Alex's voice echoed in awe, but tension thrummed between them. The glow grew more potent, revealing symbols adorning the walls. Signs of stories long untold, of battles fought against darkness. "It looks like some kind of altar," Emma suggested cautiously, advancing toward the center. "Maybe they were trying to ward off whatever was out there." A cold wind swept through the chamber, sending shivers racing down their spines. The images on the walls danced as if teasing them. And just beyond the light, in the shadows, a figure began to form, elongated, shifting. "No! It can't be!" Emma gasped, eyes widening in horror, but it was there, her mother's face twisted in anguish, eyes filled with despair. "Emma, come home," the voice called softly. Emma felt a compelling pull toward the apparition, the ache of longing intertwining with the chill of fear. "Don't! Listen!" Alex shouted, grasping her arm and shaking her. "It's not her. It's a trap." "Mom!" Emma gasped, every fiber of her being wanting desperately to reach out. "Fight it. Look at the symbols," Alex urged, desperation seeping into his tone. "They're all warnings." Emma's heart raced. The connection was palpable, wrapping around her like a tether. In that moment, she remembered the warmth of her mother's embrace and the loss that grounded her here, but it was not her mother anymore. It was the darkness, taking the shape of her sorrow. "Go, go!" she forced out, shaking her head to clear the fog. "We have to destroy whatever this thing is." With a fierce will, she yanked a shard from the altar, a glowing piece of stone still sparking with energy. It pulsed in her palm, reflecting the light riding from the walls. "We can use this against it." "Emma, hurry!" Alex shouted, panic rising as the apparition's grin twisted wider, the shadows melding into ominous shapes. They rushed toward the figure, fear pushing them forward. As Emma raised the shard, she yelled, "You're not real. You can't have me." She thrust the stone forward, filling the air with an intensity that reverberated beyond their fears. The figure recoiled, the shadows ripping apart as light burst forth. "No!" It howled, disintegrating into mist. The cabin quaked beneath them, the energy swirling violently. "You'll regret this. Your darkness feeds me." Their surroundings dissolved into chaos, the walls trembling under the pressure of the creature's wrath. But Emma didn't relent. Hoisting the shard above her head, she screamed into the void, "You will not win." With a deafening roar, a blast of light erupted, consuming everything in its path. The energy washed over them, cleansing and purifying, shattering the darkness that clung so fiercely. And in an instant, it was over. Emma blinked, gasping for breath on the floor of the cabin. The growls had vanished, replaced by an echoing silence that felt like a promise. They were alive. "Alex?" she rasped, looking around for him. "I'm here." He breathed, relief flooding his features as he staggered to her side. "We did it?" "I think so." Emma's heart raced with lingering fear. The shadows no longer clawed at their minds, but a deeper wound still lingered, an ache for those they had lost. Together, they emerged from the wreckage, the cabin once dark and dreadful now glimmering under light breaking through the cracks. The sun hovered low, illuminating the whispers and remnants of a past now freed from its torment. As they stepped out into the new day, the shadows that had enshrouded them retreated, the horizon painted bright. But they would forever carry the haunting memories, the love and pain twisted into what had been. "We'll heal," Alex said quietly, squeezing Emma's hand. "Together." Emma nodded, determination carving lines in her heart. The memories of their loved ones would linger, but she knew she wouldn't let darkness define her anymore. With her heart set, they began walking away, the weight of the adventure behind them and the path ahead slowly unfurling into a dawn of promise. They had emerged, battered but unbroken, stronger together. "Let us go home," Emma whispered, and as they ventured forward, a new chapter opened before them, filled not just with echoes of the past but the bright promise of the future. Now, take a moment to be a part of this journey. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss exclusive stories that will grip your heart. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the stories coming. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Show it.